sues Ryan, Blake and her publicist. Taylor Swift swept up in controversy. Justin Baldoni is continuing his legal crusade against his It Ends With Us co-star Blake Lively. He and his production company just filed a massive lawsuit against Blake, her husband Ryan Reynolds and her publicist Leslie Sloan, seeking hundreds of millions of dollars. Justin and his company, Wayfarer Studios, which produced It Ends With Us, filed the federal suit ripping Blake and Leslie for their alleged campaign to smear Baldoni and snatch away control of the movie, which he directed and co-starred in with Blake. According to the docs, obtained by TMZ, Blake was determined to make Baldoni the real-life villain in her story to deflect from getting publicly trashed as tone-deaf during the film's media tour. Justin says she was promoting her hair care and alcohol line while promoting a film about domestic violence. In the suit, Justin says the war between himself and Blake really started back in May 2023 when they started shooting the movie. He claims she was organizing a takeover strategy as they battled for creative control. Justin also calls out Blake's husband for getting involved in the writing of the script. He says Blake had done a rewrite of the film's critical rooftop scene where the main characters meet, and they had a meeting at Blake and Ryan's NYC penthouse to discuss it, but he now feels it was more of an ambush. Justin says Ryan was there from the start, singing the praises of Blake's rewrite, and then hours later, Blake's pal Taylor Swift popped in with her 2 cents. Also applauding Blake's version of the scene. We should note Taylor is not being sued. She's only mentioned in passing in the suit, but Justin says he understood the subtext. He needed to comply with Lively's direction for the script. So, he later texted Blake to say he liked what she'd written and would have felt that way even without Ryan input. By the way, he's included their texts in the suit, and in one, Blake describes her Taylor and Ryan with a Game of Thrones reference. I'm Khaleesi, and like her, I happen to have a few dragons. We all benefit from those gorgeous monsters of mine. The docs also include emails between the two actors from right before filming began, and Justin claims Blake expressed warm gratitude for all the work they'd done to prepare, but he also believes it was all a facade, so she could wrestle away control from him. Some of their early battles were about her character's wardrobe. She wanted rich and sexy, but he pointed out she's playing a struggling small biz owner. He also claims Blake hadn't read the book when they were working on the script, adding, she even tried to Google the color of her character's hair rather than pick up the book. Justin also lays out his take on the controversial and heated January 2024 meeting between himself, Blake, Ryan and several other cast and crew members. He says Blake came armed with a 17-point return to production demand, as they were preparing for reshoots on the film. This is the meeting when Ryan allegedly went off on Justin for the alleged sexual harassment that went on during filming. Justin's description is pretty colorful, saying Blake unleashed Reynolds on Baldoni and Wayfarer. He claims, although he gave in to most of Blake's demands, she continued to threaten to torpedo the movie unless she got to cut her own version of the film. Sony Studios, the film's distributor, told Wayfarer Blake refused to promote the movie unless they allowed her to do her own cut, so they made it a competition. Justin says both his version and Blake's would be shown to an audience, and whichever tested better would be the final cut. Baldoni says his version scored significantly higher with key audience demographics, but he claims, not surprisingly, Blake reneged on her promise and insisted Sony release her version, which it did. Justin says he essentially was forced to fire himself from directing the movie. Even after all that capitulation, he claims the pressure and smearing continued. As the movie was rolled out, all of the cast unfollowed Baldoni on social media and backed Blake. Justin says this is where Blake's PR team, led by Leslie Sloan, kicked into high gear with a campaign to frame Blake as a martyr and pin the blame on Baldoni. He says Sloan teamed up with his ex-publicist who he'd recently fired and mined her company phone for a slew of texts they used to concoct a false narrative about Baldoni. The suit includes a ton of texts Sloan sent to various media outlets, including TMZ, in which she allegedly tried to divert attention from Lively's tyrannical behavior on set.